Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Hello, what is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, June 26th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, my man?
Yeah, what's up, guys? It's going to be a good show. We were talking about off air, a lot of really good races this weekend, mostly at Churchill Downs. We got a few other things as well. And yeah, I mean, good racing at Penn National Friday. Then you get the Churchill Downs thing Saturday. Then you've got two jackpot mandatory payouts on Sunday. So yeah, lot going on this week. This is a good 3-day stretch getting ready to happen.
It's we'll talk a little bit more about the races at Churchill, but man, these two cards, when you're talking about like it, I mean, we are officially, because once the Triple Crown ends, this is kind of how it goes for people that maybe don't follow it super close. Like once the Triple Crown ends, and there are Breeders' Cup races that are happening. You know, for instance, the Met Miles, a Breeders' Cup race, and races that are starting to happen, kind of in the kind of mixing them in. But like it officially feels like, okay, once the Triple Crown's over, everything now goes like, it's like everything's towards the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown. Now everything's towards the Breeders' Cup, and we're working backwards from that. So all these races, this weekend, you have the Classic, for the Stephen Foster is a win you're in, and then the La Terrain is for the Distaff. And I mean, listen, you've got the horses that won the Classic and Distaff running in these races this year. So not to mention how good the Stephen Foster is top to bottom. These feel like they don't, sometimes when we have preps, it's like, well, whatever, like it's a win you're in. But I mean, come on, this one feels like kind of legit,
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of the better, if not the best, Stephen Foster we've seen here lately for sure. When you just look through the field, you got First Mission, who's coming off the win of the Oaklawn Handicap. Mindframe, won the Churchill Downs Stakes. The only two losses were races that looked like he was going to win, and he ran to the right and lost. Talking about the Haskell and the Belmont. Skippy Longstocking coming off the win in the Hollywood Gold Cup. Sierra Leone, of course, the 3-year-old of the year and Breeders' Cup Classic winner. Mystic Dan, the Derby winner from last year. And, oh, by the way, Hit Show, yeah, he won the Dubai World Cup in his last start. So, it's an unbelievable field. And I guess I was just almost a little surprised that it drew this well, even though these horses were due to run. I didn't know that all of them were going to show up here.
Yeah, it's like they all, Mystic Dan has kind of found his form again, and with Sierra Leone kind of being MIA, and it's just like everything's kind of, Hit Show's been in the MIA since that big win, and we really didn't know where Mindframe was going to go after he did not run in the Met Mile because of fierceness, and so we were like, and it's like you said, everything kind of just aligned. Then they showed up here. I wanted to read off the press release that we got from Churchill today, and so it feels like a good race, and historically it might be the best Stephen Foster of all time because it is the richest that we've ever had, and meaning that as far as the earnings from the horses that are in the race, more than $26 million in earnings from the entries. And guys, it's not like it's like a huge field. You know what I mean? Like it's not a massive field. There's like 7 horses in the race, 7 horses, and there's more than 26 million in earnings from those 7 entries. And really, you could say 6 because Ashcroft the 7 has $100,000 in earnings. Right. So it's really about 6 horses that have combined there. I mean, you just go through. You mentioned those horses. Hit Show's got over 8. Mystic Dan's got over 4.4. Sierra Leone's got over 6. Skippy even got 3.5. Mindframe's got 1.3 almost, and then First Mission's got 2. And it's like that's an insane roster, top to bottom. You can't ask for much more, really, when it comes to a race, especially in June.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and that number is inflated because you got a Classic winner and a Dubai World Cup winner, obviously, in the field. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. And I was talking to Paul about this, and other than Sierra Leone, who for whatever reason didn't run very well last time out, all these other horses, the legitimate contender of the horses, they seem to be coming in off on their best, right? You look at First Mission, Mindframe, Skippy, Longstopping, Mystic Dan, and Hit Show, all coming off wins and all coming off pretty good wins as well. So it's definitely when 5 out of the 7 are coming off wins, that's also, very, very exciting.
Yeah, and the thing too, like first mission has always been a horse that is kind of feel like disappointing in some regards. And if there is he definitely looked that last race from a number standpoint was his best ever. He's capable of running a race that can win, right? And he's also been the frustrating one. But yeah, so even a horse like that, you got to make note of, and you can't just toss out for this. Is definitely, you and I were talking about before we hopped on there. This feels like a race that you could be right and wrong at the same time. Meaning, you'd be like, "Hey, I think Mind Frame's going to run his race. I think the mile and 8 stuff. I'm not worried about it. He's going to run his race, and he does everything right." And Sierra Leone beats him, or whatever, And so it definitely has one of those feels for a race. It's hard to have a clear standout. Maybe that looks easier after the race. But before we head into more of the show and talk about the handicapping, I wanted to at least, I know you and Papa Dude mentioned a lot of it on your show, but wanted to, kind of make mention of D. Wayne Lukas and the news there with him, not just retiring, but being forced to retire essentially because of health. And it kind of looks like, the end is certainly near here. But, just, hey, first thoughts, prayers with him and his family, because we have become close with them and over the years. And he's a big reason why all of us, meaning us in the game, at Racing Dudes, are into the game and gave us a lot of opportunities early on that we probably didn't need or didn't deserve to meet cool horses and to, he one time we were at this barn, and, over the last couple days since we've heard this news, I've been going over all these different stories in my mind and looking back at pictures. I was sending you pictures this afternoon of just, we've had so many encounters with them and conversations, and we were back there with his grandson looking at horses, and here come along D. Wayne on his horse, and he just didn't even ask for it. He just yelled and he said, "Hey, Brady." And he came over and got a couple pictures for us, signed them right there on top of his horse, and gave him to Brady to give him to us and said, "Here you go." Like, it wasn't, we weren't like, even though we were fanboying out, we weren't like asking for anything. And he just said, "Hey, get those guys an autograph." And that is kind of like D. Wayne in a nutshell, really, because he, as good as the guy he was, he knew he was a big time dude as well.
That was pretty funny. We didn't ask.
No.
Hey, here you go.
Here you go. Give those guys. But I still have up my office here. It hangs up here. So, most people are like, "Who is that guy?" I'm like, "That's But no, I mean, there's so many cool stories that we got to watch. I'm just going through some of the one, we got to watch. It's one thing to watch American Pharoah kind of like, it was his first race as a 3-year-old after, the Rebel there at Oaklawn. I got to watch it with the Zayats. They're like literally, with them. But it's another thing to add in the fact that we were doing it with D. Wayne as well. D. Wayne was right there. So that's just a cool kind of thing that I'll always remember, him being, and he knew, the thing about D. Wayne is he's always been he's always knows, like, he's a gamesman, but he doesn't, he knows, hey, American Pharoah is a beast. Like, he's not going to divide himself from them because he's against them or has a horse in the race or whatever. Like, no, he knows this is a legit horse. And so it's just cool to kind of have those encounters with that guy. So, it's really sad though. I never thought, you guys talked about it on the show. It's right. You're exactly. It's like, you always knew it was going to happen. You knew it was coming even, but it just still is like, dang, man, like, it still doesn't make it feel any easier.
Yeah, for sure. It is like, we know it's coming, but not today type of feeling. And you just had it for a long time, really. And guys seem to be doing so well, at certain points until kind of this year, you saw him slow down a little bit. If you saw him at the Oaklawn meet or maybe a little bit at the Churchill meet, he kind of finally started to look old. That's the first time in his life where, even though he was old, he never looked it until this year. So yeah, look, you could forget all the accolades that are better than anybody out there that he's accomplished. I mean, he absolutely changed the game, and there's not hardly anybody that can say that, to bring up, to bring different horses to all different parts of the country at the same time. He was the first to really successfully do that. He had assistant trainers all over the place that ended up being great trainer. So he just did so much for the game, and he did so much to help a lot of people, not only trainers, not only up and coming jockeys that he would spot and give opportunities to, but people like you and I, that if he was available and you could talk to him, and he'd give you advice or tell you this or that, or try to teach you things. He never stopped teaching, and that's something that's awesome. He knew that, hey, the game must go on, and we've got to get new people involved, and we got to educate people. He would take kids to the winner's circle when he would win races every time. I mean, he was the real deal when it came to that. He was the best, horse racing ambassador there was, and also he was the celebrity of horse racing, for the longest of times.
Yeah, man, how many, we were the kids in a lot of those winter circles too.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we went to so some of the bigger, he's won so many, but some of our bigger, his bigger races while we were following him with We'll Take Charge winning the Oakland Handicap, Brandy winning at the Breeders' Cup. I mean, big races that we were fortunate enough to be a part of. This is a picture that you and I were talking about earlier this afternoon. I popped up there. I had to ask Halterman. I'll let you kind of tell what this was, but because I was like, I remember this moment vividly, but at the same time, I had zero idea what year it was. Certainly didn't know what race or what we were watching. I knew we were watching a replay, talking to him about it. I knew it was one of his horses, but I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, so this was when a horse named Skyring, who was a horse that was by English Channel. He broke his maiden this day at Oakland Park. This is actually Rebel Day. I think it's 2012 after the race after the Rebel. And we were walking. It was the last race of the day, and we were just kind of walking, kind of through the hall to kind of leave. And he was sitting there watching the replay. I was like, let's just watch it with him and see what he says afterwards, and yeah, we watched it with him, and the horse won by a very narrow margin. I remember he said, see, guys, I had him all the way. Nothing to worry about, And we kind of laughed, and he was like, look out for this horse. He's by English Channel. He'll be a lot better when we get him on the turf. And, of course, he ran like 6 races on the dirt again before they put him to the turf. But anyway, he was right. He won the race before the Preakness in 2013 on the turf, the big race they run there at Pimlico. So, yeah, that's what this picture was. And we talked to him, if I remember right, 5 or 10 minutes after the race. He was kind of telling us, this and that, or the jockey did this or that. And again, it's like this guy he doesn't have to do that kind of stuff, but he did it because he just loved racing, and he loved like I said, he really had an affinity. They call him the coach. He was a coach at one time early in his life, and that never really left him. He was coaching all the way up, and until with Bass, even the assistant trainer that's going to take over now, constantly teaching things to people. And that's really the cool thing about him, that he would take the time to do that for 2 guys that who the hell are you guys, right? But there it is.
Do you think I asked you this earlier in the week, and I'll ask it again here for this. Do you think, or what kind of impact do you think the horses that come to the barn will have, like as far as with Bass now? Because I was thinking about a lot about that over the last couple of days. It's like, okay, so in some regards, it's like, well, we know through in and throughout, Bass he knows the system, right? He's been with them forever. He's been, he knows. But in the same regard, how much of those little tiny decisions was like, hey, like say a Seize the Gray, let's run him in the Preakness. How much of that is like going to carry over with Bass? You know what I mean? Like, because at some point, even the average guy, or even a guy that's been in the game for a long time, like, you're not going to run him in the Preakness, right? Like, he just won the Pat, and he did and won. So how much do you think will that carry over as far as that kind of style? And 2, like, what kind of impact do you think? Because Lukas here in the last couple of years has been getting serious crop from a guy that for a while wasn't, and then got obviously is getting insanely good horses now. So what do you think is going to happen?
I don't think there'll ever be another one like D-Wayne, as far as just that confidence of, I'm going to throw this horse in here and we're going to win this thing. And everybody looks at the form and goes, how are you going to do it? And then every once in a while he would, and you would just be like, how did he win that race? I don't know that there'll ever be anybody that'll mimic that part of it. But I will tell you something. Bass is a seriously, seriously nice human being. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And I'm sure you can say the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we hadn't seen Bass in, I don't know, probably since COVID. And we saw him this spring at Oaklawn. And hell, he knew who we were and he remembered us. And we were just talking and cutting up and having a good time with him. So he's a really good guy. You know, he's a great horseman. And I hope that, you know, people keep sending him horses and he has a lot of success because I know he's capable of doing so. You know, look, he's not going to replace Dwayne Lukas though. And he would be the first to tell you that that's not going to happen. There couldn't be two more opposite guys when it comes to personality. Dwayne Lukas never saw a press clipping he didn't like with a quote of his in it. And I don't think Bass has had any quotes in any press releases or any publications until the one that came out on Sunday from Churchill Downs. So two very different people, but Bass has done a hell of a job with that stable. I mean, let's be real. I would imagine most of the physical labor that it takes, Bass has done it for a long time now.
Oh yeah.
So,
so it really comes down to those little subtle. You know, I wouldn't necessarily call them subtle, but those hey, we're gonna run here, like, or
right.
You know, like that's the thing you mentioned with like when I got to when we got to see him the spring, like you and Ryan were over there with that girl with my racehorse, and I was over there with Bass alone, and like I literally couldn't even, like I was trying to get over to you, and I couldn't even get away from him because he was just chatting my ear off, and he is that kind of guy. But he was like, the Caldera at that point was like they were gonna run at this race, and he was like, well, I think we're gonna switch it up and do this instead. But I had, that's what Wayne's wanting to do, and those kind of decisions, you just wonder how much what that carryover is going to be. And, will, I guess at the end of the day, will those kind of big time owners and the guys in my racehorse and stuff like that, like that, will they continue to give him, or will it kind of be like, hey, we're going to move these horses over to someone else and then let him kind of prove, so to speak, that he can train, on his own. I don't know.
I know I would give him a chance if I was in their shoes. I really think he's sharp.
He's a horseman through and through, for sure.
And I know those big wigs that have those horses, they're not listening to me and they're not listening to this show. At least I wouldn't think. But if they are, you got to give him a chance. I'm telling you, he knows what he's doing, and he'll do a hell of a job. But he's like anybody else. If they don't stick with him and he can't get the horses, then he won't do it. He'll still do a good job, but he won't win a lot of races because you've got to have the horses. Dwayne Lukas himself has said that many times when his clientele, passed away or faded off and he didn't have the horses. He said, hey, I'm training at 10% now because I don't have the horses. And so hopefully, though, with Bass, they give him a shot. Hopefully a lot of them stick with him, and I think he'll do a hell of a job, and I think he's a hell of a good guy. So, but again, you just, with racing and these, especially, people at the high level that own these horses, you just never know what they're going to do. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think one big thing, obviously, one, you have the name Dwayne. So, like, if you're an owner, like, hey, I want my horse trained by that. Like, it's really cool to say my horse is trained by Dwayne Lukas.
Yep.
Two, especially late in his career, although he's been aggressive his whole career, he's not afraid to take shots. And that's a big thing for owners too, right? We're not going to mess around with running in a bunch of condition races and allowances like, hey, we win our maiden race. Guess what? We're probably going to stakes race next. And that was what Lukas would do. And he wasn't afraid to make those shots. And so I think that was a big aspect for some owners as well. So, that will be an interesting aspect if Bass, again, is as aggressive. No one will ever be as aggressive as him, but will some of that kind of did some of that kind of rub off on Bass?
So. I mean, that's just there's so many. Look, I mean, we could do 10 shows on how cool this guy was and how nice he was to everybody, but that's the thing I'm going to miss the most about him not being in the entry box. I just, when you would see that name, even during the lean years, when you'd see that name, you'd automatically take a look and go, okay, what's he got cooking up here, and I'll miss, the fall and early into the winter when you see that maiden special weight winner, whether he wins by a nose or whether he wins by 10 lengths, and you go, okay, well, we're going to go Southwest, Rebel, Bluegrass or Arkansas Derby, then we're going to run at all the Triple Crown races. You just knew it. And that's something that just, there's never been another one like him. I talked to Kelly Von Hemel, our boy, about that one time. We were laughing about, man, he's got another one. There's no telling who we were laughing about that was entered in a big race. And Kelly he was laughing with this and he got serious. He goes, here's what you guys got to realize. He's the most positive thinking person I've ever met. And he goes, trust me, he thinks they're winning these races when he enters. He's not crazy. He really sits there and thinks they're going to win, or he wouldn't enter them. And it's just like, wow, that is crazy. But look, when you can go and win with Take Charge Brandy at 60-1, and you can go and win the Preakness with Seize the Gray, and win the Preakness with Oxbow, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You can get up on the podium and say, see, you got to be in it to win it, right? And that was his saying. So
this is what he said. Yeah, exactly. You can't mail him in, right? Got to line him up and run him. So he's a legend. This photo here I put up there, that was the Rebel that day. You can see I think that was Justin's eye in the very front, but the brother and then the dad was right in front of the coach there. But yeah, here we are, just hanging out. You can even it's mid race. Like, you can see on the screen there. They're on the either the turn or the backside.
They were so nervous, and he was sitting there going, "Guys, he looks great. Oh, this is great. Look at him."
Yeah, it was like he was talking them through the whole race. Yeah.
He was, and like I said, he didn't train. Obviously, he didn't train this horse. Bob Baffert did, but yeah, Lukas, and I want to say Lukas may have saddled that horse for Baffert that day. Even
he may have. Yeah,
he would do that some for Bob. But anyway, yeah. Especially the dad was just freaking out. He was a nervous kind of acting guy anyway. And, he was talking him through it and talking him down. And, they were worried about the mud. He's like, it's going to be fine. This horse will handle it. And I remember after the race was over, he kind of looked at him and he goes, you've got a hell of a horse there in that one. He goes, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
And of course, first Triple Crown winner in 37 years. So.
Here's another one that was cool. This is right. We're in the winner's circle here of course, that's one of our favorite horses. I mean, dude, whenever he won that race, do you remember, by the way, this caused us to lose that pick 5? Or no, was it a pick? It was a pick 4.
No, you're misremembering it. We're standing in the paddock with Sporting Chance.
But it was because we were we were in here longer, right? Remember?
No, it's because we were in the paddock longer. It was the same. This was the same day, but you got your mixed up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were in there with Sporting on that side.
Yeah, we couldn't get to hedge that pick 5.
Yeah. That was this was awesome day. Obviously, we were in the winner's circle here. And this was, what year was that? 20.
Oh gosh, 16 or 17, maybe. I don't. Maybe 17 or 18. I don't remember.
Yeah,
That's
what
too
year
long ago. Maybe 18. But anyway, yeah, this Will Take Charge was quite the horse.
Yeah, he was, and I'm trying to remember because it was him and Oxbow were kind of that year. They were the same age, right?
Yeah.
And this was the next year.
Yeah,
I think
could have been 14, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was 14. Yeah,
because that same year he damn near won the Classic.
Yeah. No, he almost won the Classic as a 3-year-old, and he had that thing. He just couldn't quite get to Mucho Macho, man. That was gross that year.
Yeah, he was.
That was 13.
13 was the Derby, and whenever looking back too, you could argue, hey, maybe you would have won the Derby that year. A little bit, maybe a better jockey as well. Yeah, he won the Travers that year, and got second. He never made it back to the Breeders' Cup as a 4-year-old, unfortunately.
Man, that Travers was just an amazing race that year.
Won the Pennsylvania Derby as well, and then got second that day in the Classic by just a freaking nostril.
Yeah,
and he came back and won the Clark, second in the Dawn. He was really never the same after he won that Oaklawn handicap, unfortunately. But
that day he won the Clark was incredible. He faced Game On Dude. It came down to the last. What a race that was that day when We'll Take Charge. If you go watch the 2013 Clark, that's a hell of a race. One that you probably don't Google very often, but that's sure. And by the way, D. Wayne, Curse Mandel said, D. Wayne loves Sporting Chance more than girls love Mexican restaurants. D. Wayne in the paddock that day, he was telling us all kinds of bullshit. He said, oh, this horse has never been doing better. He's got such a big chance. I still don't think he's finished that race. I think he was dead last that day.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, and now you remind, like, that made, like, you're right. And that made the story even worse because we were like, we wasted our time in that freaking circle with that horse. And it did cause this. What happened is we had this massive, and we only had like one or two horses we did, which really looking back was our own fault because how we didn't use him is really on us. But we in the Arkansas Derby, and we were like, oh, we're good. We didn't have time to get to the window because we were in there for forever because they saddle them up on the other side of the track. Couldn't get, by the time we even got back, it was like they're loading up. We were like, we can't hedge it. Don't worry about it. There's only two horses that could beat us.
Yeah.
And Danza for Todd Pletcher, which is our own mistake for not including Todd Pletcher to start, wins the damn thing like 30-1, and we didn't cash. And it's all because of Sporting Chance. We would, because the payouts were massive, and we're like, if we would have saw that, we'd be like, hey, let's hedge. Let's put $100 on him. Let's put whatever, just to kind of save ourselves a little bit. And we didn't. But
I'll never forget going out there though, because it was literally D. Wayne and Brady and you and I. That's it. The owners weren't there. Nobody was there. I remember Brady said, why don't you come to because he got us into the winner's circle for We'll Take Charge. And he got us into the winner's circle for Take Charge Brandy that day. We had no business being in that. And we were like, we can't go in there. He's like, get in here. Who cares? Because we weren't dressed like for a Breeders' Cup picture or anything. And that day at Arkansas, we had shorts on, we were just hanging out. And I was like, I don't know that we should be going into the paddock. And D. Wayne looked at us. I'll never forget that. I told the story on Dudes Who Bet Sport. He looks at it. He's like, I mean, we're in Arkansas, guys. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. He said, just come on out. Okay. And he didn't care, but that's when him and Brady and you and I, which is just such a weird sentence to say before the Arkansas Derby, but we were out there talking, and that's when he was saying, oh, he's doing fantastic. Look out for this horse. We're going to put him on the lead. He ain't going to look back, all this stuff. And he was awful.
That's hilarious. Hey, listen, one thing about you that made me think of that. By the way, guys, we will get to picks. We need to get going. I know, but you're talking about the two of the biggest Lukas fans out there, and there will just never be, like you said, there'll never be one like him. And I know he's not passed away, but he is out of racing. And one thing you said though that makes going back to that Take Charge Brandy. So this was we were either the website had started or it wasn't started when we still had the web. We weren't official by any means.
Yeah,
and we
were about a year or two in, probably.
We were wearing these homemade, not essentially homemade shirts that we had made that kind of self-promoted the website, and they were, they were pretty ridiculous, really. And
right.
So it's it's my ex-wife, me, you, and Heather, and then Ryan. Ryan's wearing a stocking cap. It's a Santa Anita. He's wearing a stocking cap, a jacket, like a light jacket, and then their shirt. He looks like we just picked him up off the street. Yeah. And they're like, come on in. And the best part about that whole thing is, so when they at the Breeders' Cup specifically, and they do it other ones too, but they take the photo. So they take the photo with all everybody, anybody you can get in there, right? And the horse and the jockey, everything. And then they take all them out, and they just leave the owners, just the owners. Yeah. And we stayed in somehow for some reason with that owner's photo as well. So you've got the Hortons, a few important people, and then us. And so somewhere there's at least one of those copies hanging up in some rich house with us idiots in that picture, which always makes me laugh to think about. So,
Well, and again,
and they're always like, who are those guys?
we ran. I remember it so well. Of course, Heather bet the horse $10 to win, so she's got $600 in her pocket basically. And I remember we thought we got to go congratulate Brady. Brady is I keep saying Brady. It's Brady Lukas. It's Dwayne's grandson, right? I keep thinking we got to go see him. But all we were going to go over there and do was just say, man, that's unbelievable. Because we talked to him the day before and he's like, there's no chance. This horse is going to win. Right. So he's like, we just got to go congratulate him. And again, like we went over there and we grabbed him, because he was coming down in his suit, like everybody else had suits on. And I was like, man, that's great. We were talking to him. He's like, well, come on. And I was like, well, no, we're not getting in this picture. That's crazy. Yeah. He's like, nobody cares. Get in here, And they didn't say a word to us. Nothing. So
they were just so
Awesome.
ecstatic. It could have been, we could have no shirts on and they would have been like, hey, let's go.
I know.
They just won a 60-1 shot with a horse that had no chance on paper. So,
but you talk about, and Brady Lukas is probably one of the nicest guys we've ever met too. And like, that just tells you who they were, and who they are. I shouldn't say who they are. So
yeah. It's I'm sure we're forgetting. So many stories. We've been to the barn so many times, and again, like just they're always so welcoming, and like we just came back there that day this past spring to see like that horse that Ryan wanted to see with my racehorse. The next thing you know, Bass is going around. Showing us horses and telling, where, Caldera and letting us see these horses, so-and-so. And so, yeah, it's just, that's always the coolest thing about horse racing. Yes, there are some barns and some connections that are pretty, you can't get in there and they're pretty secretive, if you want to call it that. But for the most part, it's like, if you just say, ask, and just say, hey, then you can go do about whatever you want to do. And, they're more than happy to meet fans and to see, let them see the horses and that kind of thing. So it's again, and there's been a lot of connections over the years that have done that, but for a guy like Lukas, and that has always been pretty cool. So, but all right, guys, let's get into the show. Let's get into some handicapping. We'll preview a huge Saturday card at Churchill Downs featuring the Stephen Foster and the Fleur de Lis. Both Breeders' Cup win your in races for the Classic and the Distaff. Then we're going to do some rapid-fire picks for Friday's action at Penn National, which includes the Penn Mile and the Penn Oaks. We're going to finally run those two races. Let's go. Yeah, man, we could sit here and talk forever about it, honestly. Like, we didn't even touch the surface of the stories and the kind of the experiences we've had. Man, yeah, That's I've been thinking about. I'm sure I know you have too. Been thinking a lot about it.
I was sitting on the couch and just chilling out Sunday, and I saw that Churchill Downs press release, and I didn't immediately open it because I thought they send all kinds of crap. Who knows what that is? And then I said, I better look at it. And I saw that. And I thought, oh my God, that is not what I thought I would read today. Yeah. So, but like said, you knew it was going to happen. I don't know how many times he'd win a big race. I said, okay, that's it.
Yeah,
that's the last one. And
I think the reason why it felt so, even though we knew it was coming, is just because like the guy like never stopped.
No.
He was at the Preakness. I mean, he's always at the races. He's winning races. He's got, he's got 2-year-olds and 3. It's like it never felt like it was ending. With it wasn't like, well, this is probably my last year, so you kind of started to like get ready for it. It was just like, so hell, I mean, he was just in the that documentary, that on Netflix. That was, of course, last year, but it's, they had him on there still a little bit, and it's just like it just felt like such a piece of the game that it just wasn't going to go away, even though you knew it was. You still kind of tricked yourself into thinking, well, he's gonna keep going.
I remember grabbing you, and then the state trooper that we know in Kentucky was there too the day Secret Oath won the Oaks, and I remember grabbing you guys, be like, we gotta. Well, I think he was already there, but I grabbed you. Oh, I grabbed Samich. He was with us. I said, we got to go to this press conference. I don't want to go with those media people more than anybody else, but I said, you got to go watch this. This is it. This will be his last one, and then. Sees the gray, wins the Preakness. I was wrong again,
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. It's crazy.
I
But
mean, hell,
anyway.
he probably would have won. He probably would have won another, another couple
yeah.
of them if he thought he was able to. So,
Yep.
all right, let's go to Saturday. Let's go to Churchill Downs for race number 7, the Classic tipped in Fleur de Lis. It's a grade 2 worth $500,000 going a mile and 1/8 for the fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. Field of 5 lined up here. Competitive from a sense of odds other than the 2, but a clear standout on the morning line odds. 3 to 5, number 3. Horse of the year, reigning horse of the year, Torpedo Anna, looking to rebound after just a bad effort doesn't even describe her last effort. It's almost so bad where you feel better about it, where you're like it can't be that bad. Do you think she can rebound here? Now, I do think the field helps. It's not the most competitive. I mean, they're decent horses, but she's a clear standout in my opinion. But do you think she still does she still have it, or was that a sign that last race like, hey, maybe she's not the same horse she used to be?
Yeah, well, they ran her, or she ran so poorly that they took her to the vet right after, and everything's fine. And then she's come back, and looks like everything's fine. So I don't really know what happened. There's definitely a chance that she's over the hill or she's tired or whatever, and she's quit on them, and that can happen. That does happen for sure. I don't think you can determine that on one race, though. I look at it and go, the track was kind of a little bit of a mess, although that really hasn't ever bothered her in the past. But maybe they shouldn't have ran her back on 3 weeks. Maybe that was a little problem. She got bumped a little bit at the start. Maybe that was a little bit of a problem. I'm going to draw a line through it, and I'm going to single her up in the spot. I do think she's gonna bounce back here. I really do. And look, if she doesn't, she's probably done. But I don't think it's over for her yet. I think she bounced back and run well. Like you said, not a lot going on in this field that she shouldn't be able to beat. To me, she runs first or she runs last in this race. If she's just done, she'll run last. And if she's kind of her B or better effort, I think it's a very easy win for her.
Yeah, she has that feel of like, okay, she's either going to win like her old self, I guess, or her previous self, where it's like kind of cruise control for the most part, or she doesn't have it at all, and then they just kind of wrap her up or whatever. So yeah, I kind of agree with that in terms of probably just single her, and move on. Because listen, I think a big thing, and I don't know if it's that big a thing, but it seemed like maybe it could have been that last race, is maybe she just wants to get out there and run, like get her out in front and let her kind of dictate things. And then she might get a little more comfortable and be harder for a horse to pass her. She kind of looked that last race like she just got discouraged and then just quit. I don't know what it was. So I think this race, you look at this race, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of speed in the race. Like, I think, she has done that before. She's gone gate to wire. It's not, the Distaff, she did it last year. The Zeri, she's done it. She's, the Oaks, she did it. I think if Hernandez just says, hey, you know what, let's just go, let's just get out of the gate and go and let these horses try to catch, we're better than all of them anyways. I think that would do a huge help her out here. So she likes Churchill. Obviously, she's won some big races here. She likes, I think, the distance in mile and 8. She's never lost. So, yeah, I'm not going to really overthink this. I thought a little bit about the 1 Royal Spa. Pratt's back aboard, looked good last out, but that's the horse I guess I would be fearful of. I guess, very lightly say that, fearful, but I can't go against her. So
yeah,
I will say this though about her. I started off the year kind of like, hey, this could be like, and I still stand by then, like, hey, this, like, I think they're probably going to aim for the Classic this year, right? Why wouldn't you? You won the Distaff. It's probably our last year. We at the time didn't feel like we had a lot of older males that were clearly standing out, or, we didn't know a lot where some of these 3-year-olds were going to come back. And so, yeah, shoot for the Classic. And now you're like, man, I don't know. You better hope you get to the Distaff, it's right now.
Yeah, I never was on the Classic train really, but I definitely thought she was going to be like another dominant horse and maybe try the boys at some point down the line this season like she did last season. Yeah, look, I think, if you liked her at Oaklawn, I don't think I would just be like it. Well, I was wrong yet, because I just feel like that was one race. They all have bad races, but if she makes it a habit and she makes it 2, well, then obviously, she's not right. So, look, I think she's still on target for what they're wanting to do with her. And again, I remember kind of the plan when they were talking about her early in the season. They're like, yeah, we may go to Dubai with this horse. So she was showing herself, right? Like, she was showing early on that she was looking pretty good. So I think she, a win here, and she's kind of back to where she needs to be, and then we could go forward from there. So, and look, a win here, and she's won 3 out of 4 races this season. So pretty good start.
Yeah, and she's never, she's only lost 3 career losses, or had 3 career losses in 13 starts, and every time she's lost, and she's came back to win. Now, granted, the 2 losses previous to this last one were like seconds, had ran well, and then and then rebounded that. So we haven't really seen like, hey, a non-effort type of race, and then will she bounce back from that? But yeah, anytime she has lost in the past, which has been now 3 times, she has came back to win. So I think that helps as well. So yeah, I'm with you. Number 3. Torpedo Anna, going to go back to her here. I'm really hoping she runs back to her form. All right, let's go to the main event on the day. That's race number 11. This is the Grade 1 Stephen Foster winning her in for the Classic. The last one was, of course, for the Distaff. $1 million race, mile and 8th for 4-year-olds and up. And look at this field, guys. Field of 7. Again, like I mentioned in the opening, the richest field of all time for the Stephen Foster. First mission at 4-1, Mind Frame at 7-2, Skippy Longstocking at 6-1, 5-2 on your Breeders' Cup champion, 3-year-old of the year, 5-2 on Sierra Leone, Mystic Dan, your Derby winner at 3-1, Hit Show 9-2, and Ashcroft, poor Ashcroft, Dwayne Lukas as well, by the way, so at 30-1. What? Imagine if this horse goes and wins for Dwayne. How amazing would that story be?
Yeah, that would be that would be unbelievable. One of his greatest accomplishments ever there. So that would be amazing if that happened. Listen, this is it drew as good as it could possibly draw. Super excited to see what happens in the race. And I really didn't think when I started handicapping that I would go back to this horse, but I'm going to go number 4 Sierra Leone on top in this one. I did play against him last time out in the New Orleans Classic, but still, I never thought he would run that poorly. He was just not good in this race, or the race last time out whatsoever. Of course, I didn't have the winner. I had the second place Horse Hall of Fame, so it didn't really matter that I went against him in that race. But, I kind of knew it'd be a knock the rust off type. And now it's just like, it kind of feels like they've got him back. You look at some of these works leading up to this, he's pretty sharp right now. And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of he's going to run well here, or maybe he's not going to come back quite the same. So I think it's a big race for him. I like the long stretch. I like the fact that, this is a horse that seems to be ready for this race, where the first race of the year, you could kind of tell he wasn't quite ready. They've been working him out an awful lot, getting him ready for this one. I think it's a really good spot. I'm going to go Sierra Leone on top.
Yeah, he's been working like a beast.
Yep.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. Listen, I'm gonna use him, and I certainly think he deserves to be bet for sure. The one issue, it's not even an issue, and because it's not really fair to really put it against him, because look at who he's been running against in the past. But since that day we saw him, actually, we saw him both times, but since that day we saw him in the Bluegrass and he won. The last time he won was the Breeders' Cup. He's just been that, and so even then it's like he kind of surprised us to win the Classic, and then but again he lost to Dornock and Mind Frame, he lost to Fiercest, and Torpedo Anna, he lost to the last of the New Orleans Classic, he lost to Hall of Fame, which is a decent horse now, but maybe not the 1 mile and 8th, but he dominated the Classic. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? And look at the numbers. It was a pretty clear standout there as well from the numbers standpoint. So you're kind of like, what was that him? Was that he went a little, he came out of nowhere and he's going to come back to reality a little bit? I definitely think the last race was not him either. You know what I mean? Like the New Orleans, maybe somewhere in between there. So I definitely, like, if he wins, absolutely not shocked whatsoever. I think he's got a big time chance. I don't know if I want to take him as a favorite here. And I'm going to go with the horse that you kind of probably know who I'm going with, the horse that did beat him the time they faced, and that is Mindframe. Number 2, Mindframe, a horse that looked, just ran unbelievable that last race in the Churchill Downs. Again, that was 7 furlongs. He's been awesome at a mile, 7 furlongs, those distances. He's still been very, very good in the other ones, the mile and 8th race in the Haskell, the mile and a quarter race in the Belmont, the mile 16th race. He did roll here at Churchill Downs. He seems to like Churchill Downs. That's helpful as well. But you wonder how much is it he was funky and just was figuring things out, or was the distance the reason why he was acting the way he did in those 2 races, Haskell and Belmont, I'm referring to. We'll see. I just think talent-wise, he is unbelievably talented. And the fact that Pletcher I kind of thought, okay, maybe they're going to find him those spots at a mile, 7 furlongs this year. And then they show up here with him. I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, look, I think you could look at this horse and say he should be 6 for 6 because the Belmont and the Haskell, you do give Dornoch credit, but Mindframe kind of gave him away. Like both races, he turned for home like he was getting ready to romp, and it was just like a movie and then a rerun in those 2 races where he drifts and that's it. And I think you hit the nail on the head and why I'm a little scared of playing him on top. The 2 races where they went the longest, he did that, and he's got to go that same distance or the same distance of the Haskell at least again. And it is a little worrisome. I thought his race last time out in the Churchill Downs was his best. I thought he was fantastic in that race. I thought the Gulfstream Park Mile, when he turned for home, I thought he was going to win by 100 lengths.
Yeah.
And he did the same stupid type of stuff, but there weren't good enough horses behind him to catch him. But
yeah,
like the wheels literally fell off, but he was able to win. Now that was the first time off the layoff, so that could have explained a little bit of that. He may have just been a little bit tired that day because it wasn't just a drift to the right. He was just kind of all over the place. But when every race he's ever run, when he's turned for home, you say to yourself, gee, look at this monster.
Yeah.
And then half of them he's finished really well, and half of them he's been a little shaky. So, but I'm with you. There's no way I'm not playing this horse on multi-race tickets, exactas tries. He's going to be in it for sure. I think the 2 Mindframe and the 4 Sierra Leone, I think they're the most talented horses in the race by a little bit, by a little margin, but they both have their issues that bring First Mission, Skippy, Mystic Dan, Hit Show into the equation.
Yeah, and let's be honest, like you look at, like, if that last race didn't happen, you're pretty, at least you can kind of live with yourself. Like, I'm not using First Mission at all. I just don't, I don't think he's good enough. And then that last race happened, and really has kind of shown that there's a couple like the Alshiba, wins that race at Churchill. That was the only win at Churchill Downs, but that last race was pretty eye-popping. Now, Pratt was riding him that day, and part of me, I know Luis Saez has been his rider in the past as well, so I'm not going to, but kind of wondered, like, hey, if Pratt really thought that much of him, would he stay on him versus Sierra Leone? But he's been Sierra Leone's rider, so that's interesting. I think he just was going to Sierra Leone regardless. I don't know, man. First Mission is going to be one. I have a feeling I'm going to, if I take him here, he's going to burn me. And if I don't use him, he might burn me.
He's odd. He's an odd horse. He has not had success when stepping up to the grade 1 level, and they've been kind of disasters, honestly. But you kind of look at when he's right, he's tough. Like, when he won the Lexington as a 3-year-old, that was a great race. He got hurt. He came back. He won an allowance, and he almost won the Clark. Great 3-year-old year. Hey, he got hurt. He still made the most of it. Great 3-year-old year. Comes back to the Pegasus. You think it's a good spot for him. Gets drilled. Then 2 very nice wins. He's back. He fails as the favorite last year in the Stephen Foster. And then the Whitney's awful. And the Razorback this year's awful. Now the Oakland Handicap's great again, So he's a very, very tough horse to figure out.
One thing you can say about him, and I don't know, it's very odd when you look at his past performances, but he's always rattled off 2 wins in a row.
Yeah.
He's always done it. Like he actually won 3 early on in his career by neck, but he's always he puts 1 or 2 together, or 2 or 3, I should say, together when he wins. And then there's a 4th and a 7th and a 9th and rolled in there with him. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, does Cox have him right now? And maybe, but again, that was also back in April. So that's kind of an interesting aspect as well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Derby winner, and that's, of course, Mystic Dan, a horse that was kind of a joke. It meaning like, hey, he wins the Derby. It's kind of been the case here as of late, where it's like, hey, you win the Derby, you're not winning any more races. Of course, it didn't happen this year, but he's kind of rounding back into form a little bit. The last 2 races, really, I thought were pretty nice. That last one was really good. Do you have? I mean, he likes Churchill, and you can't ever throw out McPeak. We know that. You like him at all? Like, is he a horse that you would use on top?
I can't do it. You kind of just have to not look at the 3 race disaster that was the Belmont, the Malibu, the Pegasus World Cup. I mean, that was just a total disaster. If you remember, his Preakness effort after the Derby was pretty okay. Like he ran hard that day and it was fine. The Lake of Ouachita 2 races back was super good. That was like, okay, he's back. But listen, the blame last time out, dude, like, it all opened up for him again. It was like watching the Derby again. Like Antiquarian blows the turn and knocks a bunch of horses out, and then all of a sudden there he is. he's on the rail. There's nobody around him, and the horse that blows the turn is the one that comes up and almost. Well, I shouldn't say almost, but comes within a length and a quarter of getting by him again. So you just sit there like, this is a lucky horse. So look, I'm not playing him. But I didn't play him last time and he won. So, but I don't think he'll beat this field.
I kind of skipped over him, but I'll mention him real quick. And that is the 3 Skippy Longstocking. Do you have the same feeling I have with him? We kind of know what he is now. It's like, he's a nice horse, certainly a nice horse. Look, he's won over $3 million, but like, this is not his level. He might be, could he hit the board? Sure. Don't think he can win.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's proven it. He's had a lot of troubles in Grade 1 races. I mean, he's been able to hit the board here or there in them, but he was not one I considered from the start because I just kind of know, if it's that second level race, like the Grade 2s and the Grade 3s, look out. But when he steps up to the big company, it's tough for him.
And then we won't really mention too much of Ashcroft here, but we will mention the 6 Hit Show. This one, man, kind of hit my head against the wall a little bit with this one. Like, what are we doing with this guy? Because it's like there's been times where he's had the hype, and then like kind of into his 3-year-old season, kind of going into the Derby, even after the Belmont, like it just kind of felt like he is a little bit like a Skippy, meaning like he's good, not great. When it comes to these big races, he can't quite break through. He can win races like the Lukas Classic or the Mountaineer or whatever, but he can't quite pull through at these big time races. They take him to the big cap, can't get the job done. He wins the Grade 3 before that. Can't win the Clark, the Grade 2. Rattle and roll beat on that day. And then he goes to Dubai. He beats Forever Young. He beats Mix 2. He looks awesome. Where are we falling with the 6 Hit Show, Halterman?
I've bet him a lot in these smaller races. I mean, a lot, but I don't. That was just a stunning result last time out in Dubai. I was shocked, and like I said, I've picked Hit Show a lot, and I don't have anything against him. But I was stunned that he won that race. I don't think he can do that again. So I'm not going to use him. I just feel like that was just kind of a little bit of a flukish result, and we'll kind of see that. Yeah, he's a nice horse. He's kind of like Skippy Longstocking, and like you said, in a way, I mean, he could run second, third, fourth, and I would be like, yeah, that's about him. If he wins this one, I don't know that you can say it was a shock after he wins the Dubai World Cup, but I would still be a little surprised. I don't totally buy that that's like the new him and he's going to go on a Grade 1 tear.
I mean, Red Route 1 beat this horse in the Cornhusker. I mean, it's like where did that? Who is this horse?
Yeah, I mean he ran horrible that night though in the Cornhusker. A lot of horses beat him that day.
I think they all did based on where
Yeah.
he finished. but the point being, that horse went on to win the Dubai World Cup. Is just insanity.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that bad. Meaning the Cornhusker reference. I don't think he's Dubai World Cup winner good. He's probably like a little bit in between.
Yeah.
That race that day it just felt like it just fell right into his lap, and he was there to pick it up. And listen, I would certainly hate to try to play the try here. I mean, I'm going to try, but the try could be just so think about those horses. Every one of those horses we've mentioned, other than the 7,
Yeah.
could hit the board in this race, and I would not be, so trying to come up with that solution here would be difficult. So the point I think of what I'm trying to make is you kind of have to take some sort of stance if you're going to play it, and that is someone on top likely. And for you're going number 4 Sierra Leone, right?
Yep, I'm going Sierra Leone, and you're right. It's for exactas and tries, you kind of got to be precise because it's a shortish field, and they're all going to kind of be the same kind of price. You got to just pick and choose your poison there for those. But yeah, I'm going to go number 4 Sierra Leone.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll go with the horse that has beat them the time they face, and that's Mind Frame. Of course, we'll see if the distance is his kryptonite or if it is Dornoch that's his kryptonite. We'll find out which one it is, because those two is without Dornoch he wins those two, and we just say, well, he's a funky horse. So we'll find out what happens. I think Pletcher might be in the same boat. Maybe he knows more than we do. I'm sure he does, but maybe this is hey, this is the path. We're heading to the Classic now. Is it which direction are we going to go with him after this race? Are we heading to the sprint races at Saratoga, the 1-turn races, or are we going, Whitney and going, towards the Classic? So we'll find out with Mind Frame. Part of you also wonders, okay, well, once they made the decision, Fierceness was going to run the Met Mile, it was all right, well, where are we going to put Mind Frame? And maybe this is just where it fell. Let's see how he does. They want to run against each other, because if you certainly would have thought, from a distance, if you're just putting distance in the equation, Mind Frame may have fit better at a mile. Fierceness could have fit better here, but we'll find out if what really does happen with those two. But I'm going Mind Frame. I'll put Sierra Leone underneath. I think he'll run it. I do think he'll run well. I just don't think. I don't think he'll catch Mind Frame. So give me the 2 Mind Frame to win the Stephen Foster. Yeah, that's what's funny about his form. It's it's funny that those the 2 funky races both involve Dornoch. And
Yeah.
it's I still to this day don't know how Dornoch beat him, or better way to put it is how he lost in the Belmont that day, because that one just felt like he was going to win. Like you said, the same thing in the Gulfstream Park Mile. Although he did win, it just oh, he's going to win. Because you remember that day, he's 5-1, and you really didn't know, is he good enough to win this race? And that's a tough race to do off of, he just had won an allowance race. And then he's 5-1, and he rolls up there alongside. You're like, oh shit, this guy is the real deal. He is about to roll.
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't.
The Belmont was a shock. I'm not saying that he lost, just the way he lost. The Haskell, I thought he was going to win, but he didn't have that same kind of feeling to me. You kind of thought, this might be kind of close. I thought he was going to win, but it might be close. The Belmont, I thought he was getting ready to win by 3 or 4. I really, really, truly did. Yeah.
And then what made the Belmont even worse was, aside from me having money on him, was that he re-rallied and then tried to get there again, and you're just like, oh God, if you just would have ran straight.
I told you after the race, I thought he won because, that year, Belmont, we could barely see it. And I thought he had won, and it was Sierra Leone that made the move on him running late, because in my mind, he had already dusted who was in front of him. And watching live, I missed the veer. I missed him running right. So in my mind, it was like, oh, he's got it easy. Oh no, they're about to catch him. No, that's not how it was.
disgusting is how it was. So
because when the race was over, I was like, man, Mindframe got that, and Ricky was like, no, Dornock beat him. I'm like, how did he do that? Again, we couldn't see a thing where we were at.
Yeah, we've probably been drinking a lot too. So there's
No, I mean we probably were, but I remember you couldn't see.
Oh no,
anything.
that was the first year they had it.
Yeah,
at Saratoga, and it was just a freaking insanity nut show there that day. So I don't remember where we were.
We were on the apron somewhere down on the.
We were like, but we are many people back, you know.
Yes,
it was just that insane. Because and thank goodness this year we had the box seats, because I mean once that like race 6 or so gets by, it's just you might as well not even try to go to the paddock or see a horse because it's just too much.
Yep.
All right, time for rapid fire. We're going to rapid fire a few races here at Penn National on Friday. So tomorrow, June 27th. This has been rescheduled twice now, so we're going to finally run these 2 races, I believe. Race number 5, the Penn Oaks, 150K, 1 mile turf fillies, 3-year-olds, field of 9 lined up here. Listen, we've heard a lot of rumors. You've heard a lot of rumors of horses that couldn't, with all the with the changes, and they keep changing it. You don't know. It's just, we haven't heard yet, and it's like you mentioned before the show. It's not like Penn National is putting out press releases here and there. So we don't know for sure that every one of these horses are going to run in these races, but these are the field as it is, and we'll handicap it based off of that. But Laura Lynn at 3-1, a horse that has not lost. And do you think she'll get a loss here?
No, I think she's going to make it 4 for 4. I really like this horse. Love the 2 races to start the career. And then I thought last time out at Aqueduct, I thought that was just a small little turf race, but I thought she looked really strong, and you could tell it was kind of a, hey, let's get a start under her belt before the bigger and better races coming up. And I thought she looked really good in that one. I think it's a really nice spot for her too. I do like a few horses in the field. I do like, Bessie Abbott a little bit. I like Love and Poetry a little bit as well, but I think Laurel Lynn is better, and I think she'll get the job done here. I really think this is a real good spot for her.
Yep. You mentioned the horse I like. I like the 5, Bessie Abbott. I do like your horse there, and I will be using, but Bessie Abbott is an interesting horse. This is last ran was that day in the Wonder again to Nitrogen, finished second. Of course, there was 3 horses in the race. 3 or 4? Maybe 3.
3.
Nitrogen, of course, won by a pole, but they did leave this horse in to finish second. Prior to that, had ran second on the turf at Keeneland. Pretty good second, really. And then the race, that was the first start in the U.S. because the race prior had won overseas. So I think this is a nice horse. Hasn't really got a lot of testing, I guess is the best way to say it, over here. But I like the fact that this horse, has shown to have some, was placed in front in that last race. I know it was not on the dirt, or it was on the dirt, but and then you get Irad aboard. I think this horse could be pretty aggressive on the front end if they decide to do so. So 8-1, I'm all about 8-1. So give me the 5, old Bessie, to win here. All right, let's go to the Penn Mile, the race next up, race 6. It's the grade 3 Penn Mile, 400K, 1 mile on the turf for the 3-year-olds. Field of 8 shows up here. If this horse does run here, Halterman, the 7 Zulu Kingdom for Chad Brown at 7-5. This one feels like he'll be awfully tough.
Yeah, slam dunk single for me if Zulu Kingdom runs. I love this horse. 2 really, really good races, including last time out. Now, I've been waiting a while. I thought I was going to get the betting back on Belmont Day. Didn't happen. Thought I was going to get him betting back last weekend. Didn't happen. It sounds like he may scratch again because they're running those big races at Saratoga next weekend. So we may be waiting, like, what would that be? 2 months after to finally bet him. So, but no, I'm going to single him if he's in here. If not, I do think Nibago is the horse to beat in this one because I think he's loose on the lead and I think he takes him gate to wire. So, yeah, it's the 7 for me and then the 4 if the 7 doesn't show.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same spot. AP Kid, a horse that thankfully I bet last time, beat him that day at Saratoga, but this horse ran second. That was off the turf. But prior to that, Zulu Kingdom's beat this horse. Of course, Zulu Kingdom, if he's not running, would be in here. If Zulu Kingdom's in the race, I'm with you. This horse has lost once. It was in the Breeders' Cup. Past that, this horse has been pretty dominant, the whole career for Zulu. So I'm with you. I kind of think they're not. I mean, it's like, why would you? I guess in some regards, it's a $400,000 race and it's a freebie. In some regards. In other regards, it's like, hey, we want to run at Saratoga. If you've heard rumors of it, part of me thinks it's probably true. If it was Saratoga looming. So if not, it makes the race definitely less appealing. But I do like the 4 as well if he doesn't run. Zulu Kingdom, man, this is a horse. Just kind of looking ahead. I know it finished 7th last year. Do you think that was a anomaly, or do you think like maybe because he looks like the real deal? Like, do you think this could be? That was of course juvenile. Do you think this could be a turf horse to look at as the Breeders' Cup gets closer and closer?
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he waits and he runs in the Belmont Derby next week, I think we'll have a really good idea of where he's at talent-wise. What I can tell you is from the races that he's entered in so far, I felt really good about his chances this year, right? And he's come through. He's 2 for 2. The race at Churchill that day, the American Turf, that is not an easy race, and he was able to win. He was entered in the Pine Ridge up at Saratoga. That looked like a lock for him. That was not as tough a race as what he had been facing. This race isn't, I mean, it's some of the same horses he's already beaten. That's not a horrible race at Penn National if he enters, but the Belmont Derby is probably going to be better. And we may get some international runners as well. So that would tell us a lot more about him and just how good he is. So I would probably be more inclined to answer that question next week if he does enter the Belmont Derby and you see his past performances up against some of the other ones that are a little bit better.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they don't like do that and just be like to kind of see where he's at, like it could be like we could find out what kind of horse he is now versus waiting until August or whatever, and so so that's another angle I hadn't really thought about. So because it is very interesting to me that he's so dominant pretty much, but it's all in these races, but that Breeders' Cup he was not. And so it's like, what level is he? Was that just an odd day, or is he just these races have come out kind of easier on paper for him? Hasn't really done much. The one thing you can say about him since at least this year is whether it been he figured it out or that's how they've trained him, but like he's been more forward placed. They've been real aggressive with him on the front end, and that's really helped. So, but all right, I got Zulu Kingdom as well to win, and we'll see if he does actually run. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out over at racingdudes.com for all our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click that Get Racing Dudes Premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. We're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Pod, anywhere you like to listen to shows. We have a show on there. Make sure you go to YouTube, hit that notification bell, and subscribe because we do have a ton of YouTube content out there. We have previews for the races we talked about today. I think we actually have a preview for every one of those because you did those previews so long ago with the Penn National ones. We just have kept using them. And then the Torpedo Anna and mine and the Stephen Foster races we have as well. So make sure you check those out. All right, we got at least mention, right? OKC got it done.
Yep.
On Sunday. So Thunder winning their first championship. That was awesome, right? It may be a little bit of a letdown in terms of like the game because of the injury. I wanted to ask you this because this has been like all I've seen. This is all you see. It's the worst NBA championship of all time. The Thunder are the fakest champions of all time. They gave it, whatever. But I wanted to say this. If Halliburton wouldn't have got hurt, do you think they would have won the game?
No.
So you don't think they would have won at all?
Mm-mm.
So you do think, I mean, from that regard, they were gifted the championship because of the injury.
No.
Explain.
Why is one thing true and one thing the other? I don't understand.
I don't agree. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that's what people are saying. So.
Look, there's no way of knowing. It's all opinion based. That's the first thing, right? Like my opinion is I think they would have been down about 12, 15 points at the half. I do think they played a really good second half. Would it have been good enough to overcome that? I'm not sure. I think probably not. But again, I don't think they need to go around apologizing. They won 68 games in the regular season. They went to a 7th game, and maybe they would have won it without him. But at the end of the day, they won, and so there's no gift. There's no gifting. If you win, and you win 4 series, you earned it. So. And look, injuries are part of sports. Whatever. I remember Kevin Durant missed a whole year, and Russell Westbrook missed time, and nobody said we should have been champions because of it, right? I mean, it's injuries happen. That's sports.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, listen, it sucks. We've all I've told some people talking about it that were hadn't watched a lot of basketball, but we're into basketball this year. And I'm like, listen, if this is your first experience, then maybe you should get out of sports, because like it happens injuries happen all the time, and they're brutal and they're heartbreaking. And this time it worked, in a sense, worked in our favor, but sometimes it doesn't, and we've all had our players that have done that in teams. But the third quarter was a most perfect quarter they've played probably in all postseason. So
yeah,
would they've gotten closer? If he would have been in, I think it would have came down to that fourth quarter ultimately. And again, here's the other thing too that I've thought about. Part of the whole the NBA playoffs are grueling, right? It's insane how long they last, and part of it, right, is having a team that can withstand the grueling nature of not just the regular season, but the playoffs as well. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, Halliburton got tweaked even before that game, and then it kind of ruptured there at the end. So it's like, that is part of it, and as unfortunate as it is, it's part of the game. It's part of the playoffs, and having a team built that can withstand the grueling nature of it. So
the whole Eastern Conference was hurt. I feel like Cavs had all kinds of injuries. Boston had all kinds of injuries. Like that kind of dictated the whole thing on that side of it at times, So yeah, no, people need to get out of the house. I think more, whether you're on it, reading it, or whether you're typing it. I think all of y'all need to get out of the house a little bit more, because it's just I get texts from people, they're making fun of the parade. It's like, why do you care? Who cares? As I'm watching it, there's a ton of people there. It's in Oklahoma, for God's sakes. They can't have 1 million people there. There's not 1 million people that can go. You know what I mean? So it's and it was also on a Tuesday afternoon, and it was 100 degrees.
It's 100,000 degrees outside.
People have to work on Tuesday. Maybe people have to work to pay for the people that can complain on Twitter about it. I don't know. Maybe that's what they were doing. I'm not sure. But why are you texting me? I don't care about this stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me. If you can't watch the game and realize, yeah, they were damn good and they deserve to win it, then I don't tell you. You don't need justification. You saw it. You know what I mean? It's just weird to me. But anyway, I think it's the first of 3 or 4 for them, honestly, because these kids have no idea what they're doing. They had no idea how to celebrate, dude. It felt like a high school team that just won a state championship.
Yep.
They all we're getting a huddle and they're jumping up and down. None of them really drink. They don't know how to even open a bottle of champagne. These kids have no clue what they're doing, and they were able to win it. So, I think it's the first of a few for them.
Do you see that they were one, I saw stuff saying it was the cleanest locker room post championship that they've ever seen. Ever. Yeah,
because they don't know what to do.
They were all gone. They left. They were celebrating Jalen Williams, not the other Jalen Williams. He cracked open an Ultra, I think it was, takes a drink, and he's like, "Oh, this is."
He'd never drank before. He'd never taken a drink.
Yeah, and even the other Jalen, good Jalen, he was like, "This is beer's gross." Or no, he goes, "Champagne's disgusting." He says, "Yeah, you're right. It sounds like a bunch of kids."
They just got dressed and went home, dude. That's what I mean. That's what they didn't do anything.
Yeah, and that's what's pretty cool about it. This could be, They obviously have a ton of draft ammunition for the next several years. They've got a group of guys that doesn't feel like they want to go anywhere. Like it's not, you don't have that, me mentality, going to go play for someone else, go get paid. Eventually that will happen. It will happen for all of them. But for this run, feels like we're going to get a good 2 or 3, 4 years where it could be a lot of fun. So Chet is you and I have like a support group basically together about Chet, where it's like half the time you want to bench him and trade him. And the other half of them, you say, I've never seen anyone do this. This guy's insane. Like what he does. And so, and he also, I had to stop and remind myself too. It's like, okay, well, this guy missed like almost the whole season, like he was out. He literally couldn't get out of bed. He broke his hip, and now he's playing in the NBA finals. Like, it took some time probably to get him, and he was hurt a lot of his rookie year. So it's like we still don't know what he is really,
He's like 12 years old too, that's the thing.
He looks it.
They're so young, like all these guys. People have told me there's like side-by-side comparisons of the Panthers when they won versus OKC, like the celebrations. And I hadn't seen it, but I was sitting there watching that night, and I thought, this is the oddest thing I've ever seen after that game was over. It's like, one of them would just walk up to like the reporter or whatever and just give an interview like they just won like, a regular season game. Like, we played hard. We played good. It feels good, It's just like, you guys just won the championship. This is really like a huge deal. Like the city's going crazy right now, but yeah, I do think the parade, they finally kind of let loose a little bit, but it's definitely a different feel for an NBA team for sure.
It feels like a college, if not high school, like you said. It's just as far as they're real tight. They do a lot of stuff together away from the practice and games, and so it just kind of has that like tight knit kind of team that you don't often see in professional sports. So that was cool, and obviously it was fun to watch them this playoff run. Cohen, my oldest, got really into it with me, and he was even whenever he wasn't with me or we were out doing something, he'd be like, what's the Thunder score? Are they winning? Or they're cooking, or whatever, or they're getting cooked, as he would say. And it's like, and that was a very weird thing about them too, that is you don't ever see that often, like where like such a dominant team, they had games they blew them out. They had games where they got blown out. I mean, look at Game 6. They looked like they shouldn't even belong on a court. And then they flip around, and it's like that just shows how young and like immature they were, like as a team. They just, they just figuring it all out still.
Oh, even Game 7, that was one of the worst halves they played in 2 years, I thought, in Game 7. And that's what I'm saying. I think if Halliburton would have been healthy that whole half, I don't know what the score would have been. But as the game went on, you could tell like the Pacers had nobody that they could really go to and like consistently have a go-to guy. And, it got him beat. I mean, it got him not only beat, but they didn't have a chance really. Once the Thunder started playing, it was over. But I mean, if he was in the game, I don't know what would have happened. But guess what? He wasn't. And in 2 weeks, other than Indiana people, nobody's even going to remember or care. So it's just something people want to talk about right now because they're jealous because their team didn't win. So they got to knock the team that did. Unless you're an Indiana fan, then I get it. You've got reason to be very upset because you feel like you got robbed.
Yep. It's always an odd thing to me in sports when it's like the people that look for those like reasons to, they don't deserve to win, or whatever. And you're just like, okay, well, you hear it all the time being a Chiefs fan. And of course, the refs gave it to them, or, they suck. Look, Mahomes was terrible. They still won. All right, whatever, man. They won. So I don't know what you want me to do.
Here's
like you're supposed to feel bad about it, It's like, nah, I don't feel bad. So
here's a life lesson for everybody listening. All right. Any person that makes fun of another individual or makes fun of, like, if as a sports fan makes fun of other teams, it's all jealousy all the time. That's all it is. And I mean, in sports, it happens a lot, and we all do it, right? Because we like the Chiefs. The Chiefs weren't on anybody's. That nobody could care less about the Chiefs other than their couple of rivals, right? And now that they're good, oh yeah, it's all rigged and it's all this and it's all that, right? And like the Oklahoma City Thunder, nobody even like acknowledged that they existed, right?
Yeah, for real.
After Durant and all them left. And now it's like, oh yeah, they're gifted. They're really not good. Shea's no good. And it's like, okay, like he won the MVP, he won the finals MVP, he won the championship. He's trash. And it's like down deep, you're probably a Knick or a Celtic or a Rocket or whatever. And instead of just dealing with it, you have to lash out because you're jealous. And that's all it is. So, Bills fans and Bengals fans and Ravens fans, that's the Chiefs right now to them.
What do you think of? I mean, look at any sport with any dominant type of team over. You look at before Mahomes, it was Brady, of course, and the Patriots, and you either loved them or hated them, right? And they were cheating or they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
You even look at like the Heat whenever they had the big three, or even the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq or whatever. But the Heat more recent, that felt like that was exactly the same way. Any baseball team, especially like a team like the Yankees, when they're really good, it's you hate them, or even the Red Sox, you feel bad for the Red Sox, and then they start and they win, and you're like, well, it brings out all the haters.
Florida Panthers. Oh, there's no state tax in Florida. That's the only reason they're winning. What? But again, they can't find anything, so they just latch on to anything that they might make somewhat semblance of sense. And then here comes the mob squad. They're going to pile on it. And then I wouldn't know about any of it, but all my friends text me this shit. And I'm like, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. This is a thing that's happening right now.
What's funny is about how many people, like up until this year, be like, why are you a Thunder fan? And you're like, well, I mean, I live like 4 hours away. I mean, it's just kind of the closest. We don't have an NBA team in Missouri. Like when they moved here, we kind of became, I became a fan, and it's like, what? And then now it's like everyone, it's like either hate him or love him. But even like what my point is like people didn't even realize how close they were. No. They had a team. Who cares? No. They're like, they're a whole, like basically Oklahoma is a black, other than college football, Oklahoma might as well be a black hole in terms of sports, of professional sports, right? And so it's like, and then now, like you said, all of a sudden it's, whatever.
Yeah, dude, it's like I went to games when they were the Hornets. When Katrina happened in New Orleans, the Hornets were there 2 years, and I was like, I remember when they were the Hornets, for God's sake. So like, yeah, it was cool to see it again. Like I'm not, and the same way. Like we're not like NBA basketball junkies, but the Thunder, we've always followed the Thunder. So
yeah. Again, like I'll be told. I mean, it's 1,000%. Well, okay, two reasons. It's 1,000%. It's local. It's where they're located, right? Like they showed up. Like again, Oklahoma doesn't have any professional sports. Mm-hmm. Missouri has no professional basketball team. Nope. And then of course pile on Durant and Westbrook and Harden and that kind of run, and that really ignited a lot of their fan base as well. And so, yeah, I mean, it was kind of easy to be a fan. And then over the years, you're like, and I've always liked Presti and thought, he just the way he's managed the team is like, they're going to be good for a long time, mm-hmm. or at least they're going to go, they come in, he's always real big on drafting. Right. And so it's like, they come in spurts. He's not afraid to get rid of players as we've seen. So, but yeah, I don't know. It is funny when people are start bashing the team that no one liked a year ago. So whatever. But,
I know.
I've been used to it. It's like when people talk about the Chiefs, I'm like, listen, I remember because I've been a Chiefs fan since I was born, basically, and it's like there was a moment in time, like this is not made up. This really happened. There was a man that played on the team, and he was like it wasn't like just someone rode the bench. He played that shot and killed his like family, and
I
then
remember
shot
that.
himself at our practice facility in front of our head coach, who was not even a real head coach. He was just he'd been put there because no one else wanted to coach the damn team and the ownership. And then the next year, Andy Reid came, and it's
I
like
remember
that. It was never lower than that moment where you're like, wow, the Chiefs couldn't. I think they won like 2 games that season or something, and it's like, so when people are like, the Chiefs are, they're, whatever, like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I'm going to enjoy every freaking second of this because there was a moment when that actually took place.
Dude, all of your life until this happened, the Chiefs were either not good or extremely disappointing when they get to the playoffs. Like,
yes.
So
it's like, yeah.
If there's some conspiracy for the Chiefs, it took a hell of a long time for it to happen.
There's a lot of work in the making to do that, But listen, that's one thing about Halsman and I that we always, obviously we get along, but like I always feel like we've always seen sports very similar, meaning, Halsman's always the first to be like, OU just sucked ass. That's why they lost,
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's not like, well, if we got this call or got that call or this happened, it's like, well, we shouldn't have been in that position and start, whatever. Like, you're a realist when it comes. I feel like I'm the same way. And so that, it's when I can't hardly stand the people that are like, making up excuses, or we would have won if this would have happened, or if you didn't get this call, that, whatever. It's like, well, you never know how it would all played out. It's sports, but all right, let's get off. Let's end the show. So, again, guys, thank you for joining us. This weekend's a huge weekend in racing, so make sure you tune in for Churchill Downs. Friday night racing at Penn National. That will be fun. Hopefully we run those. We'll see who actually runs in those. Make sure you check the website back at racingdudes.com, particularly on the Penn National page, as well as our premium plays to see actually, if Halterman has a Zulu Kingdom pick. Maybe he doesn't because he doesn't run. And so make sure
I'll just say I currently do, but it gets updated in the morning. I think Penn National will come out about 11 o'clock tomorrow, and then I'll update it. Yeah.
It's funny. We are like 24 hours away, and you still have no idea if the horse is even on the grounds. So
no,
that's well, most of the time, but it's Penn National. So there's that. So, all right, guys, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at @racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.